Hello again, everybody. I am McSnazzi, as always, and today we are back in Planet Zoo. Now, where we're going to take the video today it's sort of a mini episode, a mini-sode if you want to call it that. We're going to do a little bit of an eating area over here towards the North American side of the zoo, between the bison exhibit and the pygmy hippos that we did last time. We really need to fill in this area with some food. The small food court I made over by the flamingo exhibit in maybe episode 3 maybe now or 4 is really crowded, and it's super small because I fit it into that small area. So we kind of need another area for the guests to get some grub and to sit down and eat it as well. So we end up putting a few shops here. We do a pizza pen, we do a pip shot water, and then we do the Cosmic Cow milkshakes and ice cream. So we have 4 new vending areas for the guests. So hopefully they'll kind of spread out between the areas. You know, the other side had chief beef, I think, and gulpy. So hopefully the other options over here will make guests come over here a little more. And with the buildings, I kind of wanted to keep with the North American woodsy theme over here, since it will be this area that we're in. It's not like ultra themed, but it is a wood sort of log building. So I guess it's pretty much themed, but it's not like over the top. So I really like what we did with the buildings, though. We make them look real nice, even though they're kind of just bland log cabin buildings. But we put a little stuff on them, and I really like this path that we used, the little like log path, like ground texture. It really makes good for a picnic area, and I think it fits really well with the theme that we're going for this picnic area. And you'll see in the end, but they look pretty nice. Now, sort of my plans for this area going forward, and sort of what we're going to do in next episode. And we have a little more than just this eatery in this episode, as you'll see later on. We're going to make a big pond, sort of like a natural pond that was in the park initially, and that they've just kind of built around. And we'll talk more about that when we get there. But for now, we're doing this eating area. We need to split up the guests, and we need more guest facilities in general, since we've done a lot of animals. I think we've done maybe 3 or 4 episodes of just animal exhibits, and it's really spreading out the guests and filling out the park. But we're getting a ton more guests in the park, as you can see in the bottom there, 1,500 when I'm recording this episode. Of course, we're recording in pause, but when I turn play, there's just tons of guests running around, and they're looking at all the exhibits because we have so many exhibits now. So we need some more guest facilities. And we do put another bathroom in, so there's actually 2 bathrooms in the park now instead of just 1 on this side. There's an eatery in sort of, well, we'll make another eatery in the Asian area. I would consider that first eatery just sort of the entrance area eatery. It's really a small one, but this one's sort of the North American area eatery, and I think we might have 2 in the North American area, because I plan on doing quite a few North American animals. Even though there's not a lot, I plan on doing big enclosures for both the grizzly bear and the timber wolves, because we are sort of in that theme or biome, so to say. So I think it's just natural to have those animals and have some nice big exhibits for them. And I just really like grizzly bears, so I think we'll have a nice huge grizzly bear exhibit that looks super natural and is super fun. So we might have a grizzly bear themed eatery over by there when we get there, which will probably be on the other side of this pond that we build. But I really wanted to, cut up make this sort of mini episode, because there's kind of this maintenance stuff that we need to do. We need to make some stuff for the guests and clean up some of these areas before we put even more animals into the park, because there already are quite a few, and it's filling up really quick. And we're going to start moving back towards even bigger animals and really the like big ticket parts of the zoos. I know all the zoos I've been to have sort of the larger animals towards the back. They want to get you to walk back there. These are the bigger exhibits. These are the bigger enclosures. And it's really where a lot of the zoo operation happens, because you don't want to have most of your animals right by the entrance, I would assume. I'm no zoo expert, but I've done a little bit of research to try and make this zoo realistic as I can get it, with it still looking good and, still being fun to play. I want the game to be fun to play, but I also want it to look somewhat realistic, so we have sort of a nice vibe here. But we still need to do a lot more terrain work. We've been trying to get it a lot. In this episode, I really don't do a lot of terrain work, and I really wish I had. Now that I'm thinking about it, we could add a little terrain to the pond, a little height variance there. It's really just a pond. It's flat. You know, it looks nice for a pond. I think a pond's sort of low ground anyway. There's not a lot of height variance by it, but the height variance that we've been adding has made the park look a lot more interesting, and it looks a lot more natural that way. I think the zoo really needed it, so I'm glad that we've been doing it with the pygmy hippo area and especially the bison exhibit. The bison exhibit is just big terrain work, and it was awesome doing that, and I think it really adds to the park, adds to the sight lines of everything, and it's just probably the cornerstone of our zoo as of right now. We'll see later. We might build some crazy stuff, but I'm gonna let this play and I'll jump back in when we start building the pond. So here we are, we're going to start doing some of this pond. Now, I really wanted to take up a nice big area with this pond because I really wanted to be sort of like a natural aspect that was there, and it's just kind of built around. Now, in the zoo sort of my hometown zoo, there is a big pond like in the middle of it. It kind of cuts up the front and the back of the zoo. Now, what it does in real life is it's sort of like a natural, like this is the type of waterfowl like geese and sort of sea life like turtles, etc., that live in the area. So I wish we had animals like that to put in, maybe just some geese or some herons, cranes, etc., that could be traversing in the pond, or especially turtles. I'd really love to put some turtles in there, but I know it probably wouldn't work. I can't put the tortoises in there because they're not turtles. They don't live in the water, so that wouldn't work entirely. But we do spruce it up a lot. We make it look supernatural, like a still pond, not like a rushing gorge like we've been doing with our river so far. But, just this is a sort of natural thing. You'd show off the natural wildlife. You'd have some educational plaques that say, hey, these are the turtles that you find in this area. This is the sort of waterfowl that you find in this area. And it sort of is educational on local, and it's a cheap exhibit, a cheap enclosure for the zoo to make. They don't really have to do anything to it. The geese and the ducks will come to it because it's, you know, an open space of water where there might not be a lot of open still spaces of water for them to, you know, get some food. So I'm sure the geese and the ducks will come, and then you can just throw turtles in there. Turtles are super resilient. They'll live anywhere as long as there's like a food supply. So it'd be a pretty cheap enclosure, sort of like a hometown natural enclosure. I think it's a realistic aspect to put in the zoo. I think it's a nifty thing that zoos do, at least the ones that I've been to, that they sort of add this little like natural hometown area. And we do a big cut after we do a lot of the outside wooding of this with the foliage work. We put a lot of trees up, you know, the natural foliage of the area that we've been doing throughout the park. And we'll do a little bit of rock work along the sides, not overwhelming rock work because it's like a still pond. It's a low ground. We're not really high up here, so we don't need a ton of rocks, which we've been doing around most of the river in the gorge. I think it's appropriate around there, but for this pond I want to have some areas, you know, where animals can walk down into it, you know, like naturally. This is a nice pond, and we do a lot of stuff in the water here, and I think this is what sets it apart from what we've done so far, especially with the river and etc. And maybe we'll add some of this to the river. Is we do a lot of stuff within the water. We're gonna put a lot of cattails in here, reeds. We're gonna put a lot of rocks on the bottom to cut it up. We're gonna put some lily pads, and it's just gonna look like a natural still piece of water. Guests can go over the bridge, walk in here, look around at whatever's in here, just take in the views, or they can go around it. It kind of helps divert traffic too, as the bridge is sort of a shortcut to one area. If you go around it, another area, it leads to another area. And when we put in the rest of the exhibits within the park, we're gonna be able to show that even more. It's gonna help divert traffic, and I think it just looks great. I think it's a natural thing to add. It's something that helped break up this beginning of the park, because the beginning of the park is filling up super quick, and I think a lot of animals are just shoved together right now. So I wanted to add some relief, so little areas that are a little natural, just for guests to walk around a little more, because we're going to start building some bigger enclosures in the back here, and you know, we're going to do a lot of that cool stuff. So really, this is really what I wanted to do here. I think it looks good, and I think it was great for this little mini episode where we did a little bit of the food area. And I didn't want to do a whole nother animal because that would have, this episode would have just been way too long. So it's nicer to do a mini episode where we just do some sort of house cleaning sort of things to sort of set up as we go into our next area. I have a better idea now that we've added this of what I want, where I want to take the park and the zoo in terms of this whole area. But we first got to finish that last bear spot right in front of the bison exhibit, as you can see right there on the screen. But we'll jump into the real-time first-person walkthrough here in just a moment, and I'll show you guys how all this looks in first person. So here we are in first person. We're starting at the picnic area we made in the last episode, and we're just gonna walk over. Here's that little pond, and there's that bear area we're gonna fill up next episode, I believe. I have a good idea of what we're gonna put there. Now we're at the pygmy hippos, so you get a sort of idea of where this food area is, and we add that little nice statue there, and it looks real nice. It looks super natural. It looks a little rugged. It looks perfect for this North American area, and I really like how it looks. Not too neat, but not too run down. It's perfect. I think it looks great. I love the style that we did here. A lot of this log work with the log pieces, but I think the log pieces look really good in this game. I think they did a great job with that. And there's not a ton of like northern North American, like alpine architecture in this game in terms of construction pieces. So we got to use what we got to use in order to get the feel. But here's the sort of dock area for the pond. We may put custom supports on this at some point. I'm not sure yet because the supports on this look not so great. But there's the view. It looks great. I really like how it turned out. Super natural. And it'll look even better once we put stuff on the other side of this. If not, add some like terrain work to just add some height variance so it kind of blocks the open area you can see beyond these trees. But it just looks super natural and cool, and you get a little peek about, you know, the natural wildlife that would live in this area, if we could put it in. Hopefully on the workshop soon someone will make like a duck piece or, you know, turtles that I can put in the water, and that would be super cool. But here's the aerial shots now, and we're gonna see how this looks. I think it turned out really nicely, and I'm just happy with it. It helps fill up this area, and it helps us get an idea of sort of where we want to go, and it adds some guest facilities that were really needed. So that's going to near the end of this sort of mini episode, guys. This is number 10. We're in double digits now. I want to thank everyone for all the support, everyone who's watching. Thank you, guys. I'm going to keep going with this series. I'm really enjoying it, and I think we're getting better every episode, and the zoo is just really looking a lot nicer and a lot more complete the more we're going on here. Thank you again, everybody. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned on the channel for more content just like this, and I'll see you all next time.